Hello everybody, let me give you a quick rundown of where we're going. If you've ever had 3D stereoscopic VR 180 video and you wished you could take two clips of it and collage them back to back in a stereo 360 sequence, I'm here to show you how to do it. This is a quick rundown of how, and then I'll give you the longer step-by-step right after. So you take your first clip, create a sequence out of it, and then alter that sequence, doubling the larger side of the frame size, so you end up with a 1:1 aspect ratio. Make sure it's equirectangular, stereo over under, even though my original footage was stereo side by side. I'm doing a 360 horizontal capture and a 180 vertical. I then use the VR projection effect on each clip, and these are the settings. You turn off input auto VR properties and you hard code stereo side by side, which was true of my source footage, and make sure it says 180 on the horizontal. On one piece of footage you leave the pan alone. On the other piece of footage, you turn it 180, and that's how you end up with this. But if you want the play-by-play of exactly how and why you would use this effect, stick around. So I've been making this series of 360 video collage techniques in Premiere, and it occurred to me that I ought to put this discovery out into the world of YouTube tutorials as well, because it's sort of a 360 collage technique. As soon as I found out about VR 180, which is, in case you're uninitiated, it's stereoscopic, typically, but just 180. There's no behind. I can't go around in a full circle. I just get 180 degrees of the view, and that's it. But if you were looking at this in the headset, this symbol would be sticking out in your face because it's 3D, it's stereo. It uses the two lenses both facing the same direction instead of one facing behind to get a full 360. Now, the first I heard about this, I was like, oh sweet, could you do a cheeseball collage of kind of fudged stereo 180 pointing in both directions so that you end up with stereo 360 just kind of asynchronously shot, right? Like not pretending like it would actually look architecturally sound, but you know, if this is the scene I see on one side and then some other 180 thing I shot looking behind me, that's cool. Like, I don't care if they don't match up perfectly. But when I first started trying to do it, it just did not work. I couldn't think of a way to make it work. And the reason is because the way stereo tends to be encoded with VR video is either over under or side by side. The eyes, the two parallax eyes, are just sort of like crammed together in one video, and then Premiere or whatever software that's sort of decoding it is just informed in the metadata, you know, that it should be treated as stereo. Okay, so I figured out how to solve this problem, and it's using different sequence settings and a different a particular filter VR effect in Premiere. So let me show you how it's done. So here's what I've got. I've got 3D stereo 180 footage of this band sort of like doing the home recording of a new song. And then if I cut it all together, it's going to sort of be like a you know, recording studio music video kind of a thing. And that's cool in 180, you know, it's fine. It's like you're there, you know. But if we want, all these musicians are technically in sync because they're all synced to the track because this is the take they recorded. We can put them back to back in stereo 360. So here's how. I'm going to make a new sequence, and I'm literally just going to duplicate this one and call it 360 instead of 180. I'll open that up, and I'm going to trash a lot of this just because there's no need for it in our example. So this stuff's out of here. We'll go that far with it. And the next step is that we're going to change the sequence settings here. So this was part of the big aha for me when I realized how you do this. We're going to go sequence settings, and this should be an equirectangular stereo over-under video of 1:1 proportions. So the larger side, in this case 5760, is going to be duplicated. So this is some big ass footage, fair warning, you know, but it would take a little bit of a beefy computer to not get bogged down by this. But I'm just telling you, that's what's up. And here we're gonna do, this is a 360 project now, okay, in the horizontal captured view. So we're gonna hit OK. Okay, so it's looking pretty screwed up, but we've got the tools to fix that. If you go into effects, just start typing VR into the search here, you'll see all the VR effects, and we're looking for VR projection. I'm going to throw that on the first piece of footage, and we're starting to look better, but we're duplicated. Okay, and so what I want to do here is not input the auto VR properties. Instead, I want to tell it manually that this footage was stereo side by side, and it was 180. Okay, so now we've got the old stereo 180 footage, but it's only taking up half of our space now compared to what we had before, where we, you know, I'm trying to turn past it, and you couldn't, you know, that's all we got. So here we're in a 360 composition, but it ends, you know, it spills out into no man's land over here. So perfect. So what that allows us to do is, in these other shots, we can drag the VR projection onto them and follow suit, stereo side by side, 180. And the only thing left to do now is turn this so that it's facing the opposite of the first that we made. So that should be on the pan. And now we've got our 180, and the only reason this looks funky is because I've got multiple layers that I haven't changed yet. So now, like I said, I never expected the architecture to match up or anything like that. It's two separate shots that don't heal, but they are both 3D stereoscopic with a cheap camera that can't do stereo 360, right? So I've got two stereo VR views, and I've made a full 360 composition out of them. Now, if you wanted to get really clever, you could, you know, create a kind of feathering effect between the edges of these two to see if you could heal this, or maybe you could make it even some, instead of trying to pretend it's not there, you could lean into it, you know, make a animated crawl or some kind of decorative thing that's like a band-aid around the whole thing, that sort of functions as a portal or a proscenium or something like that. But the ultimate goal here has been achieved, putting two stereo 180 pieces of footage on either side back to back to create a stereo 360 composition. as a video collage.